Hi everyone, welcome and selamat datang to the grand finals of Malaysia UADC 2022, brought to you by the Malaysian Institute for Debate and Public Speaking, MIDP, and Taylor's College. My name is Chang. I have been your convener throughout this competition, and it is my absolute joy to also be your MC for this closing ceremony. So for your information, this event is also being live streamed on MIDP's Facebook account. You can go follow. So let me also say a quick hello to those joining us via Facebook. Hi, hello. Everyone else can wave also. To begin this event, we will start with the much awaited, much anticipated Battle of Giants, the creme de la creme of this tournament, the Open Grand Finals of Malaysia UADC 2022. All right. Congratulations to both teams for making it all the way to finals. I'm so sure it has been not very easy. And if I can speak on behalf of Asia, I'd like to say that we cannot wait to witness the battle of wits that we're about to see. So let me start by introducing the teams. On-site government hailing all the way from the Philippines, we have Team Ateneo de Manila 1. Prime Minister, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm David. Nice to meet you. I'll also be giving the reply speech. Hi everyone.
All right. Hi David.
Hello.
Deputy
Hello.
Prime Minister.
I'm Quintin. I'm sorry. I'm Quintin. I will be speaking second. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, I'm
Thank you.
Doby.
Gavwit.
That is me. Hello.
All right, cool. On-site opposition, we have Team Tribhuvan 1. And can I just make a side note and recognize what a big historic moment this is, as Tribhuvan is the first ever team from Nepal to break UADC. And on top of breaking, they also made it all the way to grand finals. Big congratulations to Tribhuvan and the Nepal debating community. Let's introduce the speakers. Leader of opposition, please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Nishan. I'll be going first. No preferred pronouns. Looking forward to the round.
Thank you. Deputy Leader of Opposition, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Srizan. I go by he, him pronouns. POI is in the chat. I'm happy to be here and best of luck everyone.
Thank you. And Opposition Whip, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Avash, Opposition Whip for this round. I go by he, him pronouns, and I'm really looking forward to this debate.
Thank you. And who's doing reply for side opposition?
I'll be the reply speaker, Srizan.
Very cool. All right, so any debate competition would not be complete without the adjudicators. So I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate the judges who have made it this far in the tournament. Well done for your outstanding performance thus far. Judging this round would be Youngwoo Park from Korea as the chair. And joining them will be Amelia Potoka from Poland, Antash from India, Ariel Lim from Singapore, Chinmaya Mohan from India, Ernest Ma, our proud representative from Malaysia, Pranav Kagalkar from India, Tan Yao Kun from Singapore, and last but definitely not least, Ufi Abdurrahman from Indonesia. Now, I'm sure I've built a little bit of suspense and I hope I did it well. So to start the debate, I will now pass the floor to the chair.
All right, so hello everyone. My name is Youngwoo Park. I'll be chairing this grand finals. Couple of housekeeping rules before starting the round. I will be timestamping in the chat, but just in case I miss it, I would highly encourage every debaters to time your speech as well as other speakers' speech, just so we know when to ask for POIs. And secondly, before starting the speech, the speakers can disclose the way in which they would like to receive POIs as well as their preferred gender pronoun, if any. With all that said, on the motion this House supports the concept of a network state, I would like to invite Prime Minister to start the round. Here.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, before I start, I'd just like to thank everyone that supported us on this journey and for everyone who still believes in us and debate. I'll take POIs in chat, starting my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Modern states are a deeply unjust organization of political resources. They are based fundamentally on violence. They are signed arbitrarily at birth, and we prefer the existence of a network state that is constructed not only through the technology of the modern day, but the ideals of the modern day. What does this look like? The basic features of a network state, and indeed any state, mean 3 things we think will be unchallengeable. 1 is the provision of social services and taxation. 2 is representation, which means not only will they defend you if you're like accused of a crime, for example, you'll allow you to vote for other candidates and politically represent yourself. And 3 is they will regulate certain behaviors according to some moral code in which you agree to because you opted into the state in exchange for certain punishments. What does this look like and why will this emerge? So not only due to the increasing amount of time, energy, and resources that we put online, we think the natural next step is the state and political organization moving online. We don't think modern states have the capacity to suppress this entirely. Realistically, in most states, this will look like some kind of dual citizenship that grows more integrated as time goes on, as we can move, for example, onto the metaverse or onto virtual reality, as we start doing our jobs online, as we have seen in the pandemic. Why will this be run well and efficiently? The first thing to note is that this is not about the worst or the best version of a network state. It is about the concept of a network state and whether or not it's worth supporting. So we can support democracy, but we don't have to support the worst version of that democracy or the best version of that democracy, merely the ideal it stands for. This will be run well and efficiently for 3 structural reasons in framing. 1 is due to infinite competition. You can migrate to any other cyber state, and at minimum, they have to be better than the state that you live in for you to opt in and for the state to accumulate resources. 2, these states run on the principle of minimum violence or harm. To convince anyone to do what you want them to do, you either can force them to do it through violence, or you can get them to be in their interest. And generally speaking, it's much harder for you to threaten someone with a gun over the internet, as much as I would wish to be able to do that. The third and final thing is that it's just difficult to develop monopolies over cyberspace versus how modern states do it over land, right? You can make other forms of crypto assets. You can set up proxy servers. You can set up new social networks and new apps, but you can't do the same. You can't magic new land out of thin air. Argument 1. Modern states are unjust. Network states resolve it. There are 4 structural reasons for why modern states are principally unjust. 1, they are assigned completely arbitrarily at birth, and moreover, there's no real option of changing due to the barriers and norms of physical distance, of financial difficulty, of logistically having to move and uproot your entire life, and the cultural norms that shame you for being somebody that's betraying your country. Second structural reason, there's no real alternative for a modern state today. That is, if you leave a state, you have to live in, guess what? Another modern state governed by the same principles of instantiated violence and birth lottery. Thirdly, moreover, these states protect their own interests through violence, as I mentioned earlier, rather than rational choice. And this manifests in 2 ways. 1 is through the rule of law, where it's either protected by the implicit threat of the policeman down the corner or through the actual threat of whether it be cartels, whether it be actual army oppression, and so on. POI, pref, and chat. And the second is historically, they were created through colonization, through conquest. The state is born through blood and iron and dust, and nothing opposition can say will change that. The fourth and final principal reason is that these issues with modern states are irresolvable. Systems go gradually more corrupt over time. They get gerrymandered. Bureaucratic inertia makes it impossible to convince them, especially when corporations have sunk in their roots in modern states. Why does a network state resolve this? There are 3 ways in which it resolves this. Number 1 is that even if network states aren't perfect, they are much more preferable to actively hostile and oppressive states today. So the social services, the infinite competition, and the framing points we provide are all very good reasons to believe that the network state in its emergence would just be better than states as they are today. Number 2 is that having an alternative process produces democratic incentives for both sides. So if one state provides very good welfare and less people are working in a modern state today, let's say you work in a democratic state that's a network state while you're also living in the Philippines, if you're more likely to leave the Philippines, contribute less to the Philippines, and be less interested in the Philippines, then the Philippines has an incentive to compete by providing more welfare relative to what these other competitors are doing, which means they provide better welfare, better taxes, better environmental initiatives that you would never get on opposition. Thirdly and finally is that the state's emergent incentives are also just by nature much more democratic. 1, by construction, these states emerge out of a need for safety and democracy rather than out of a historical coincidence out of blood and dust and fear, which means that these states are designed by nature out of the modern ideals of man rather than archaic holdovers from the past. Number 2 is that the ideological underpinnings of the state will be built by people who self-select
into principles of freedom. They are the ones who were so excluded from previous states that they felt the need to make their own. These are the people like Vitarin Butalik who did develop Ethereum because they believed it was something good and did it out of the goodness of their heart. Because if you really wanted to be rich and you had all these resources, you wouldn't be doing this. You would just be being rich out of your own company or your own job. But thirdly and finally is that the other people that move in with you are the very same people who are so disgruntled with current states that they feel a need to move, which means that they are like-minded and operate on the axis of oppression that you are trying to escape from. Hence, overall, it is better. On argument alone, right, the weighing for this first argument is quite trivially winning the round. Not only does it mean that the current state of affairs is untenable and there's really no way for opposition to fix them, things grow worse over time as they get more corrupted, more gerrymandered, and more turned away from the good. We think this is an important shock to the current system, and on its own, it will gradually get better over time. I'll take the POI.
Historical coincidence has also formed cultural identities. That is to mean, presumably the people who enter into the system will be on the same biases that they currently have on their life. Why is that system likely to be completely new and radically?
Because it is a system of rational choice. Historical coincidence has created cultural identity, we agree. It's also created cultural exclusion. And the function of that cultural exclusion is that you don't get to choose a state you were born into for the majority of people. We provide them that choice that opposition never gives. Secondly, network states are just good for people. This is not just in general good, but it's good for the most vulnerable, those who live in developing states, like people in Venezuela who try to make a living out of trying to make money on RuneScape, or people from North Korea who get bootleg access to the internet through smuggled net lines. Not only do they get access to better labor, which means if you live in a neighborhood where there are few jobs or there are racist employers, you get the intensification of existing processes of online work, which means they're much more able to get labor that allows them to survive and be happy. But beyond that, they get welfare, which enables them not only to work and to live on their own, but make investments for themselves that they would never get otherwise, because a negligent state that discriminates you either just because you're too far from the capital, because you're the wrong race, speak the wrong language, we give them access to a state of their own choosing. Secondly, they also get community. This is where the cultural stuff might become relevant, but it's relevant for Gov, because you join a community of like-minded people, you get a feeling of safety. If your state is homophobic, if it hates you, you will never have your marriage be validated by the state. But when you opt into this network state, you can have it be recognized by people that are like you, people who you can solicit donations from, legal aid from, emotional support, people that agree with you and care for you because this is a function of your own choosing. Simply put, network states are good because they are formed of networks of people who care, and opposition never gives them that alternative because we are stuck with states as they are organized today, unjust, unfair, and worst of all, losing the debate. Gov.
All right, thank you, Prime Minister, for that fine speech. I would like to welcome Leader of Opposition.
Just to ensure I'm audible and visible.
Yes, you're audible and visible.
Okay, before I begin, it's an incredible honor to be here in this platform. I'll just take a moment to acknowledge what it took to get here. The Nepali debating community has started, the inception happened in 2013, and we have a major spotlight in 2022. It took a lot of sacrifices to get here. So if there is anyone watching this debate from home or from afar, friends, families, DNN, just know that all of your sacrifices, all of your contributions amounted to this. We are very proud to be here, and we hope that the debaters to come can build on this legacy. I'll be starting my speech in a few seconds. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Government creates a world of no escape. Their case is essentially hinged on two assumptions. First, that individuals always make the rational decisions. Second, states somehow move into these spaces, and therefore there suddenly exists a competition that does not really exist in the status quo. First, we do not really think that this is going to be the case, because if the status quo is something that you disproportionately benefit from, we think there's very little return that you can get from, say, these network states. The problem with this is that this is a panopticon threat. This is something that is present on a public server, which can be accessed at all points of time. No state would be wanting to take this technological risk and then suddenly change their investment. Second reason why, we think that in order for states to function, you need more tangible resources. You need more people on the ground creating those resources. You need something that gives you tangible outcome in terms of like how you profit, how you benefit as a state, and how you give back to the people in terms of tangibility, in terms of things like healthcare, in terms of things like, say, like jobs, or things like social connections, or probably just give them more autonomy to exercise their rights, right? And we think just the fact that people vote and bring you into power in the status quo because you hold so much capital as a state, it means that there's less incentive for you to choose the way that you're actually going to rule. Second reason, we don't really think that minorities are going to move into these platforms and therefore create safe spaces, right? This argument falls because notice that the moment in time there's an inception of these network states, the people who are actually going to move to these states are not minorities, are not technologically challenged people or suddenly like disenfranchised people. The people who begin this are technological platforms, are people like from tech savvy people and tech bros who start to create monopolies, right? These are not states. These are individual actors. These are corporates that are going to like capitalize on the way you live your life. What are the problems with this? 3 structural problems. First, it's easy to track, right? Just the fact that this is pan-optical means that the details that are stored on public server is perpetually going to be there, which is that government can easily access this. Law enforcement can easily access this. So if your incentive is to create safe spaces, which you're storing all your data somewhere, that can be hacked, that can be like completely, like that can be nullified, and as a consequence, it can be channeled against you, right? We think that there is a risk in and of itself because your autonomy is severely restricted, because your privacy is something that can be easily accessed by any other individual. In the real world panel, at least you're able to keep your shit to yourself. We think that you're able to live your life in like, say, isolation, or live your life with full autonomy, right? I'll be taking PY through that chat, or I'll be taking you up soon. But second reason, we think that you are more prone to hacking, right? Prob can argue that, oh, suddenly you can hack, like, oh, like hacking happens anyway. Notice that all of your wealth now exists online. It exists in a space that can be accessed by anyone, which is that the perverse incentives of people to go around and steal in order to make their states functional, or in order to create new states, or probably just to fuel their wealth, is disproportionately higher. You don't really have the same security mechanisms that you exercise in real life and to protect your wealth, right? It essentially means that you are far more under the threat of having your details stolen. And we think this is quite literally the case, right? The cryptocurrency wallets keep getting hacked, right? You might have your wallet safe, but the channels keep getting hacked when people try to like do transactions. So yeah, continuously under surveillance. And this is worse for people who have accrued a lot of wealth in these cases. Second, we think that server backups are prone to physical destruction, right? Which means at the point at which there's a natural disaster or something wrong happens in your life, all of your life savings or all of your details of your life is actually gone because you're living your life in front of a computer screen. And we don't really think that is the most valid way of going about things, right? So there is a perpetual risk to your entire life. Final reason, we think that governing these systems is quite highly difficult, right? Like, notice that all of our governing status is about artificial intelligence, about the way we govern societies in terms of tech is years behind. That's the reason why the legalities behind AI is still being discoursed upon. There's no tangible way in which we govern the social networks, or the way in which we ensure that all of your data is protected in all instances. Because like, even if you have strict laws, like hackers still find a way to bypass these laws, or these laws are not exercised are not exercised in a proper way, so it's going to be much worse. The weighing here is that the development is disproportionately higher in a way that like legalities can actually keep up with it. So we don't really think government has a way to actually make this work. Who comes to these states, and this is going to be really important. Like I already mentioned, it's going to be tech bros, it's going to be maybe people who feel alienated in the status quo. But notice why this is actually bad, because Prop's claim is that, oh, you have arbitrary lottery of birth. Notice that the point at which you go into these network states, your family is not going to follow you into these network states, but because not everyone is technologically has the same technological aptitude, which essentially means that if you make this decision, you forego the superstructures you have in the status quo, right? And they say that states are violent. At least you can exercise democracy. At least you're able to keep power structures in check, right? And you essentially have more autonomy. Means that you have more access to things that fills your stomach. You have more access to friends. You have more access to families or people you can mobilize easily in order to make a change, right? Which is that in their world, you're devoid of any physical connections, which means that you're devoid of say being able to bring about changes in the status quo, right? I'll come to that, but before I'll take that point.
So you aren't criticizing the concept of network states. You're criticizing a very uncharitable version of them, which for some reason is run by tech bros, which for some reason is a panopticon, and for some reason has weak cybersecurity. Surely people would gravitate towards the best ones.
not necessarily, because you need to prove that these network states are going to be something that is going to be accessible. If you don't really prove that, I'm not sure as to who is going to move into these states to begin with and who these states are created for, right? Because notice that if your claim is that, oh, minorities have spaces, note now civil societies have like way less, cannot really engage with these people in a meaningful way, which is that if they want to bring about tangible changes to the way they live, they need to mobilize people, right? The people who migrate to these platforms are people who have technological access, minorities who might be well off and hence being alienated, right? So the poor minorities will still be systemically disenfranchised and won't really have the capital or the people who can bring some change for them, right? So you create a divide in the status quo. And we think that it's not really possible for minorities to do this alone, because you need a lot of resources to make this work. So which is that you need to create a heterogeneous state, a diverse state for this to work with different people, which is things like racism filter, things like say microaggressions would be things that you find it very difficult to control, which is that you're disincentivizing minorities from joining this platform to begin with. But finally, we think that the tech bros are quite weird people, right? These platforms can easily be weaponized because your leaders are going to be people who are able to mobilize resources easily, which is people who already have access in working in these platforms. These are not going to be government officials, but rather people who are 10 steps ahead of them, which essentially means that they can create your preferences in terms of who you actually vote for, what sort of content you consume, and how you see yourself in these societies. These are worse because your incentive structures are manufactured, your psychology is manufactured. This happens in social networks, but at least there's an opt-out because you can come out of social networks and deactivate your account at any point. If your entire life revolves around these systems, we think you are more prone to manipulation. You don't really make the best decision for yourself. And as a consequence, it's stagnant. Very proud to oppose.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition, for that fine speech. I would like to welcome Deputy Prime Minister.
Hello, can I be heard? Can I borrow a timer?
Yeah, you're audible.
All right. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Listen to the rhetoric of op. They say that network states can be bad. They can be poor, they can be corrupt, and they can be exploited by bad faith hackers and actors. If you weren't listening too hard, you might think that they were describing a democracy. There are multiple democracies, in fact, the majority of them that are poor. The majority of them are corrupt, and the majority of them have been exploited through historical means of exploitation, such as colonialism, imperialism, and wars, or the current means that are the parallels to what they say, i.e. us hacking governments, hacking central banks, SWIFT codes, etc. And ultimately, while they suggest and outline a series of problems, they at no point prove why these problems are exclusive, nor why these problems are the tipping point to why we should be against the principle or the concept of a network state. I.e., if we support democracy because we understand that it is the aggregation of principles, that it is the preferable state to live in, and that ultimately a democracy, when executed well, actually leads to the best outcomes. Presumably, as long as David proves and suggests that this is a better form of creating those preferences, it is significantly more democratic, then this is something that we should ultimately support. Before I move on and get into the weeds, I'd just like to go into 3 intuition prompts to prove this premise of democratic framing and why, even if it's hard, difficult, or even if we suggest that it's impossible, these are still things that we should support in concept. First of all, the premise of North Korean democracy. So they suggest that there are a series of reasons to why it would be difficult. There are a series of reasons to why it would be very hard to create things like state change and might be very vulnerable for one individual. This does not mean that we shouldn't support it in concept, i.e., it might be very difficult for you as an individual to resist the North Korean state, but just because you would experience a large degree of oppression doesn't mean that the principle of wanting democracy for this society is bad, and that's still something we should support. Secondly, the principle of the death penalty. While you might think that the death penalty is bad, or even believe that any statehood or form of state violence is bad, presumably you believe that relative innovations to make things better are preferable. I.e., You might believe the death penalty is bad, but things like the electric chair, the guillotine were definitely relative improvements to the way that they were done before. So, as long as David suggests that there are going to be reasons why this state is going to be relatively more democratic by construction, etc., this is still something that we should support. And finally, the principle of happy life. So even if you believe everything that opposition says, and there are going to be a series of reasons to why it's going to be difficult, you're never going to achieve it, ultimately, this idealistic state or premise of a utopia that is possible to you live in a state that is not dictated by borders, state violence, etc., is something that we should support unilaterally. Let's go into an individual series of the weeds and then talk about why these concerns from OP are irrelevant. Firstly, how would the state operate and would be capable of providing state services? So I think the first thing I'd like to point out is that there's a fundamental tension in the case of OP. I.e., they say that this state will be poor, this state will be incapable, and therefore couldn't provide anything, but yet they also suggest that the state will be totalitarian, the state will restrict your movements. This presumably cannot be both true, because if the state can do this, they can also raise things like taxes, regulate companies, etc. Given this, I think the much more likely representation is that the state would be able to actually perform all of these metrics and would be able to provide state services and maybe even potentially provide certain degrees of state control. But the ultimate difference between regular states is that they do not have a physical means of restraining you, i.e., you do not receive the same cultural barriers, the same physical barriers that would prevent you from moving to another state, which probably suggests that ultimately you as an individual can opt out of the instances of the worst times of violence, but still opt into a lot of the tangible benefits, i.e. the state services that would likely help you. By the way, I think my timer kind of got paused, so just raise the POI verbally before the 6 minute. Secondly, they say that it's likely that this state is going to have a series of problems with security, i.e. that this state is going to have problems with hackers, and therefore a lot of the things internally within your life would be harmed, primarily because of issues such as... It's 15 minutes. Yes, I will accept it.
All right. So on people's preferences and the choices that lead to happiness are based on real world, on real parameters like friends and family. Why will they find happiness on that online world, which they don't probably...
Yeah, so I think this POI is generally uncomparative. So I think one, we can propose the model of dual citizenship on Gov, which probably suggests that we have the ability to get access to both worlds. But B, even in the instance where this is the true comparative, we'd likely suggest that one, you can find a lot of friends internally within these spaces. But two, even if you don't have the ability to find friends, presumably this was a choice that you made rationally. They simply suggest that, oh, people are likely to be irrational, but even the irrational manifestation of this decision is still fair. I.e., if you are not satisfied within your own metaverse or your own physical space, presumably the choice to enter this kind of metaverse, this kind of virtual state, etc., probably means that you enjoy the subjective experience much more, the friends that you made, etc. Back to the idea of hashing insecurity. So they suggest that there is a potential risk. So I'd like to note, they don't actually have a structural proof for this. They simply suggest, oh, it is on a computer, which means it is vulnerable to hackers who are very intelligent. This is not a very compelling argument, primarily because it's very difficult to actually do this, i.e. when you talk about hashing and salting, the encryption that is based on the info swipe for things like cryptocurrency, etc., it would literally take the lifespan of the universe in order for you to have the most powerful computers in order to brute force this. So I think potentially it's much less vulnerable. But secondly, even if we concede that to an extent there is a degree of vulnerability, they don't prove the nuance, i.e. it is still definitely the case that modern states are vulnerable to hacking as well, and bordered with things like physical exploitation, to the extent that we, one, prove that you at least remove the forms of physical invasions of violence by which states could be exploited, that is preferable, but B, to the extent that this actually manifests in a sense that is comparative, means that you probably aren't going to be as damaged in that sense. But thirdly, let's talk about the most compelling example for Gov, which suggests some people are not even born in democracies. So they say that there is potentially a problem of control in which states, if they recognize that many people are going to try to leave, ultimately would not let you leave because they recognize that it's a threat. So they bring up examples like Venezuela and North Korea. But notably, David gives examples to suggest that even within those highly repressive states, it's potentially still possible, and it's been shown that many people opt into things like RuneScape, cryptocurrency as a means for being an alternative. But secondly, presumably as these states become more and more emergent and digital life becomes more and more integrative, these things become easier and easier to opt into because there are more and more spaces for you to interact with it, which the state can simply not monitor. This ultimately suggests that for the most vulnerable people who don't live in a democracy, who already live in a corrupt state, this is the best alternative you have and the best option for you to live a long, fulfilling life and a life that you choose. Proud to propose.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister, for that fine speech. I would like to welcome Deputy Leader of Opposition.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, give me a second. Yeah, before I start my speech, I just want to quick shout out to everyone who has been here all the way. Behind every success story, there is an impossible dream, probably sleepless struggle, heartfelt failures, and priceless inspiration, usually from people behind the scenes. Today's debate is not about basically the dreams, struggle, or success, but the fact that I took this time to look back on people who once made me smile and love the craft of debating, which I so dearly enjoy. So let me just start in a couple of seconds. Let me get my timer. My POI preference is through chat and exclusively through chat. I'll probably take you at around 5. Proposition had 3 burdens on this debate. The first one of which was to prove that this social network is going to be good. Second was to prove that the leader controlling this network was going to be good. Third, the financial system, especially cryptocurrency, was going to be good, because these are the parameters identified in this info slide. They did none of that. Let's look at the social network and the conditions that created. Their analysis here is people are likely to find happiness because they can escape from current world. Notice that a lot of the people depend and desire their preferences based on what they want in current world. We want physical, meaningful relationship. We want better happiness in the current systems that we live. We want to get out of poverty in so many other instances. The fact that you escape into a different world where your value systems aren't worth it might be different and exciting for some time, but it is not a source of meaningful happiness. Because notice that no matter how arbitrary the conditions of birth are, these are still significant to the people who have been living their lives on those kind of things. The pursuit of happiness oftentimes is engineered to the kind of things that exist in physical world, and they are not likely to receive the same kind of happiness on their world. But then their enforcement mechanism is very weird. Firstly, they say dual citizenship kind of thing. So if they have dual citizenship, they're likely to force the same oppression of the real physical state on their side as well. But if their state is likely to exist independently out of this, then there are going to be jurisdiction issues where you are able to provide this kind of services. That is to mean you have to go into other countries to provide this kind of services. A lot of this probably you will be able to iron out over time, because this is about a concept debate, but this is definitely going to take a lot of resources and investment on the first time. The definition of which means that people who have invested on these kind of things are likely to be people who have significant stake on this kind of company, means that they are probably likely to make this company as and the way that they want. That is to mean they are likely to have a lot of control over, and they want to have a lot of control. This also contradicts the argument about competition, because for competition to exist, a lot of companies have to emerge at the same time. Notice that if there's some 1 or 2 platforms which emerge out and which allow an escape of people because of them having the first movers advantage, because of them being able to manipulate people person at the first time, they're more likely to get more and more people into their quest. Look at how tech companies are functioning currently. Google, Microsoft, and Apple probably lead a lot of share and probably the mind of public in disproportionate manner. There is no mechanism for competition rather than the fact that technology is growing. The fact is technology is growing, but all of that patented technology and rights to this is holded by singular people and entities who are a lot more likely to monopolize this kind of platform. If you have invested a lot of money on it, you definitely want returns. The returns come in so many different ways. Current technological ways, which they say modern, are likely to be things like data collections. Oftentimes these are done through insidious channels because people don't even know what they're consenting to. The fact that means is a lot of the privacy of people are violated and people know nothing about it. That is why even if it is the best case, this is democracy, people don't know how much extent the privacy is getting violated. That is to mean and this is important because on real life, you don't do everything online. So a lot of your things are not recorded. This is not a surveillance system like China probably, but in our system, we're more likely to have our own individual freedom, our own time where we can turn off the computers and live our own life. But the fact that the state going to be very important for you to conduct your day-to-day activities, services, and follow this kind of laws, it is going to be better. But then they say there is no threat of violence. How do you get people to enforce your laws? There is no threat of violence. You can opt into other platforms and run away from it. That is to mean the harms that we say, for example, malicious hacker trying to hack into your identity, probably trying to use information that can exploit and influence your life in negative ways, are probably going to get away with it because you don't have enforcement mechanism like violence. The fact is, violence isn't in itself bad. In real state, the violence exists as a way to restrict people's ability to commit larger violence. For example, police creates order in the society. That is to mean people who go out and kill people on their own, or probably go out things and do their things on their own, are restricted by the threat of this violence, which most of the times doesn't get used because people like to be complacent about this. So in your side, why is it likely that people are going to act rationally? There is no mech, because this platform might be good, but people in there might be bad. That is to mean you have an ability, the fact where the world is connected to a degree, where people share their deeply intimate details with everyone. This is not just social media as an intersection of our life, but social media as our life. And this is harmful for so many different reasons. Next important thing to note is, we said that a lot of cultural constructs and happiness are built on real words. That is to mean, one, we told you that a lot of the people are not willing to move into this kind of platform because this is new and exciting. This is important because the future viability of this kind of platform, even as a concept, depends on how many people are interested on it on the first place. If you are able, like that is to mean, if you want to have widespread this kind of platforms over time, like let's say in 200 years, 300 years after its inception, you might make a better platform. But you also have to consider the harms that are likely to occur in that 100, 200, or 300 harms. This is probably likely to be bad because the people who are likely to move into this kind of platforms are maybe the people that you say want to escape. But second, these are also people likely to escape from their families, people expecting from real world relationships, and a lot of other things which still mean something to them. The reason for that is education systems, value systems, culture, and everything has indoctrinated people to believe that these things are important. And the point you abandon these kind of systems in hope of something better, you are less likely to get out there. But if you are creating an independent sort of thing, for example, this is existing outside of the nation and its jurisdiction, then your happiness also is dependent. Like you cannot go back to the nation probably because you make other connections here, but you also love your family back, and that like you don't have assets there as well. So yeah, I'll take a POI.
You make an interesting point that the connections, the jobs, and the things you do on this online world will never be important to people. Why does OP get to decide that, and why can't people decide that on their own?
Exactly. The reason for this is we still get to use social media platforms for making connections that are not as important, not the mainstream. That is to mean we're still able to, like, for example, VR technology, AR technology probably still exists on our side, but not as a subsection of people's entire lives. You don't have to defend social media. You have to defend social media being people's life and a country in on itself. This requires you to mechanize why this is going to create proper laws. We say a few things. One, because there is all leader in the info line. That means the leader is probably going to have disproportionate control over information, disproportionate control over policies, the way in which people can behave and act into this kind of system. That is why we say that because they have an interest to control people, because like you said, if there is no violence, you have to figure out a way to manipulate people into abiding by your laws. This is likely to be pervasive on the part of leader. If you want to create order within this kind of system, this means probably interfering with people's life, giving information where you hack and manipulate their minds through the collection of data, where people give out a lot of intimate details which can be weaponized for harm. That is difficult for people to get out of because this means that they are likely to monopolize that. Currently, on our current world, it is not perfect, but it is where people want to live better. That is to mean most minorities, most people who are oppressed, don't want to go out into Mars and live a life entirely there. Most of these people want things to get better here. That is to mean people who don't go out will not have political clout necessary to create change in real world. That is to mean we don't have enough minorities who have suppressed the brunt of this harm in the real state to create tangible change. That is something that they need to defend or very proud to propose. Oppose, sorry.
All right, thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition, for that fine speech. I would like to welcome Government Whip.
Hello. I will take POIs in chat. Start in 3, 2, 1. I love my country, but God knows it was not a rational choice to be a Filipino. We present a fundamental problem from the beginning of this debate. The modern states hold an artificial monopoly over the way we choose to organize our lives that leaves the vast majority of people in society with no actual consent over their laws, no actual consent over when violence is used against them, and no actual consent over the communities they live with. The case we hear from OP is at best a shallow criticism of a single uncharitable imagining of the network state in the short term. But they never give you an actual defense of the modern state. They don't explain why they're representative. You can flip all of the uncharitable burden pushes from DPM against them. You have to prove that modern states have good leaders. You have to prove that they will overwhelmingly be democracies. You have to prove that their financial systems will be good. These are intractable burdens, and what matters then is the options that are available to you. We explain that network states give you the unique opportunity to expand your options beyond the limitations of physical resources, beyond land, beyond blood ties, which means you get far better states that provide people with actual meaning on net in the long term. And their failure of imagination has lost them this debate. I want to talk about two issues. First, what will these network states look like, and will they be run well? Let's engage on ops grounds. From the beginning, we give you a very in-depth conception of what these states will do. They provide things like social services, lend you a bit of cryptocurrency when you're in times of trouble, give you legal protections when your state is threatening to sue you, in the way that an American citizen living in the Philippines might be extradited and be tried in a court of his peers in status quo. They give you workplaces where you can work under regulations you consent to. You can be allowed to marry someone who you love, regardless of gender, regardless of ethnicity, when your state imposes those barriers upon you. They give the bizarre conception that this supplants modern states and replaces them entirely. I think this doesn't imagine the realistic way these states would emerge, which is just because we support the concept of cryptocurrency, for instance, doesn't mean we support cryptocurrency overtaking single and like fiat currencies in all instances. There's a level of coexistence that takes place in the instance where these states begin to emerge, and those are the instances where we access all of our benefits. Let's individually dismantle all of the criticisms raised by ops here. The first thing they say is it's hacking. We explained from Quintin to a quite large extent that these things are computationally intractable. You can hack a wallet, you cannot hack the blockchain entirely and bring the state down. Further, wallets get safer and safer with innovation over time, and the increased interest to innovate in cybersecurity in this instance, because more people flock to the network state, likely means that innovations are best off overall. So if the worst case harm is that these states will have to steal your data for you to participate in them, we say they have to take less and less data over time as more of these states becomes options for you. The second thing they say is access, and it's going to be filled with tech bros. First, I'm not sure why this is a harm. The fact that something is inaccessible for some people doesn't mean we should deprive it as a right for other people, especially given that we've proven that the concept is universally good. But even then, I'd point out that access to the digital world is increasing. Even people in Venezuela, when the time that their currency was plunged, were able to buy and transfer their assets into cryptocurrency as an alternative, which allowed them to escape the oncoming currency crisis and supplant the failures of that state. Imagine if in a state where social welfare and social services were collapsing, you could rely on a third-party actor to provide that to you, to be a counselor, to give you an online education where your state doesn't have the resources or manpower to do that. The final push we hear is, oh, happiness is physical. No, why is it the physical? You don't give us an answer that is an assertion you give. We say that people have many intangible preferences that can be met even by a very minimalist conception of this network state. Just having your marriage recognized, being recognized as a citizen with the power to vote that many millions of people don't even have in status quo, living in a democracy and being allowed to elect your leaders, even being able to allow to express your opinions fully and freely in a space of your peers where many people don't have that in status quo, where states crack down on social networks because those alone aren't enough to overcome the sheer power you need. But further, the state can provide you with physical protections. It can provide you with social welfare. It can help you out with assets when times are tough and supplant social services when necessary. So even in the instance where happiness is physical, we make people happier. The final line of criticism they launch at DLO is, well, people will sometimes be irrational and do bad things in the state. First, we don't give the reason why. We explain that the people who likely enter these states are already in a state of dissatisfaction with their own state. They're likely to have thought through their preferences and the specific reasons for why they became unsatisfied with their state to begin with, which is why they gravitate to the specific features that they are access to. But further, we point out, even if they make the wrong choice and are irrational in one instance, it's very easy for you to move your assets to a different network state. It's very easy for you to change your nationality because there aren't artificial barriers and resource constraints. But further, I think they're uncomparative here. People are also irrational in real life. People didn't make the rational decision to be born into the nationality they were assigned at birth, which was arbitrary. So even if there's limited rationality on our side of the house, that is far better and infinitely better than no rationality on that side. So at the end of these, the states will be run well, especially in the long term as technology improves and opposition's criticisms don't have a leg to stand on. I'll take the POI.
if you are not going to use violence and people do have incentive to probably commit crimes because you can get access to services, what is your enforcement mechanism here? Why will people not commit crimes?
Okay, so this leads me to the second issue. Why is it that people are better off in this world rather than a world where they're solely constricted to physical states? Let's deal with this enforcement issue. We'd firstly point out that it's about the degree of violence necessary for the state to enforce its laws upon you. That is, when you are in a democracy or you are in a physical state, that violence at any point in time is arbitrary. There are still means by which a network state could force you to enforce its laws. It could prevent you from accessing the network. It could do things like perhaps raise a tax upon you and seize more cryptocurrency access or access from your wallet, or perhaps even levy a fine against you, as many states or many Binance wallets do in status quo, for instance. The difference is that these things are not physical forms of violence that prevent you from living your life in a normal way. But even in the instance where people commit more crimes, that's not really all that bad, guys. Like, sure, they might hack your private information out. I'm not sure what the concrete harm of that is. In the real world, when people commit crimes against you and you are a minority who is not represented because you are constitutionally excluded, you are subject to that violence all of the time. What they confuse in this debate is that it's not about people who live in cushy functioning states, because those aren't the people who would gravitate towards cyber states. It's about people who don't live in democracies, people who aren't having their preferences met by the state and who don't have laws that are fairly enforced to begin with. So if the comparison is weak enforcement but just enforcement, because the process is transparent, because there's a greater degree of democracy, because all users in that network state can see what happened and who applied the laws, versus no enforcement in a dictatorship, no enforcement in an authoritarian state, then we far prefer our model. This is a world where people are freer, where more people access the goods that they are deprived of, and people live happier, better lives. For all those reasons, propose.
Thank you, Government Whip, for that fine speech. I would like to welcome Opposition Whip.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Before I start, lots of important shout outs. If I continue, it'll take a lot of time, so I'll just try and keep it really, really short. First shout out to all the big boys. You know who you are. You've helped me a lot over the past year and a half. It's been wonderful being friends with you. I also want to shout out my parents, because without them, I wouldn't be here, quite literally, if you think about it. Shout out to my friends and my teammates, Shiran and Nishan, who've been absolutely wonderful to debate with and just hang out with in general. And I also want to shout out my lovely girlfriend, Audrey, who judged the EFL finals earlier today. She literally dragged me out of retirement. So if there's one person who I wouldn't be here without, it's her, because she's forced me to come out of retirement and debate. And it's turned out really, really well. So yeah, thank you to all of you, and also other people who are equally important. Anyway, I like my POIs through chat. I'll try and take one on the 4th or the 5th minute, starting in 3, 2, 1. How many Ateneo speeches does it take to beat Tribhuvan? Probably 5, but they don't have 5, so they're going to lose today. What's going to happen in this debate, and why is it that opposition is winning? The first thing to question is how these states exist in relation to conventional states. Because they say, yes, this is arbitrary, yes, violence. The problem government has never addressed, Srijan raised it, they ignored it, swerved away from it, said, violence exists all the time, is you exist in accordance with conventional states under your side as well. People presumably are still living within the physical borders of these conventional states. That is to say then, all the rules that apply about violence and the ways in which conventional states can enforce them still exist under your side. The best you can do is double citizenship. It doesn't mean the laws of these conventional states don't apply to you. In that scenario, why is it that violence is such a delta on your side? Other things are also quite similarly symmetrical. What do I mean by this? Their primary pushes were about safe spaces, community, and agency. But these safe spaces already exist in the status quo anyway. Things like Reddit exist, things like Facebook exist, Facebook groups, Tumblr, all of these things are things that exist in the status quo. So if there are people who feel isolated, who feel alienated, they can just join these groups anyway. They had a unique burden to prove why statehood and an entirely online statehood is the only way in which they can get these sort of things. They didn't. We're fine to concede in the absolute best case of government, there are some benefits. Like maybe it's marginally better, maybe it's slightly safer, but that isn't enough to win them the debate. There's the same issue with community as well. Yes, if you want community, you can find them online. Reddit threads exist, literally 4chan, Facebook, Instagram. I can just keep naming social media sites and they're all mechanized themselves. Agency, this is incredibly important. They say these states are arbitrary. Yes, but your best case is dual citizenship. You still hold that arbitrary citizenship anyway. But it's worse because, like Trijan says, the worst sides also exist. So if privileges are what is so important for government, you also have to deal with the fact that you are constantly applying both sets of laws as opposed to just one set of laws. So your agency is restricted by these sort of things, right? But more importantly, on agency, they say we can just switch countries. One, presumably, I know this is conceptual, right? But presumably these network states will also have entry requirements for citizenship the same way other countries also do, right? I just don't know why it suddenly changes. This is a supports motion, not a prefers motion. You're not reimagining the world. You have to mechanize it. The reality of the matter is modern states have existed as a consequence of millions of years of evolution. You've literally created a new state without mentioning why the laws work. You just say it will work. We can question it, right? I know it's conceptual, but we can at least question the fact that it will be made properly. And even if it will be made, how long will it take? We've pointed out cybersecurity lags in the status quo because of the fact that tech evolves faster than laws can be coded into the constitution, right? They just have no responses to any of this. They just say, you have to believe like the conception means you have to support the concept of it. Finally, intersectional support, that is being able to find people that are outside your physical borders, are things that happen online anyway, right? They needed to challenge why uniquely network states is the way through which you can get this mechanism. Most of this is symmetric. And I want to point out their burden pushing is incredibly unfair. We don't have to defend modern states. We have to prove very, very simply, network states are going to be worse at this than modern states currently are. I think we've sufficiently proven that on a principle level, right? Because they wanted to challenge violence and arbitrariness. All of this is constant in this debate as well. What is unique to network states, though? Three crucial things that they've swerved away from because they just wanted to talk about the benefits and not address the criticism from Srijan. The first thing we said is there's a panopticon control. Their response at DPM was incredibly glib. All they said was, if they have control, then they should be able to do all of this. If your mech is true and they have no control, they can't do this. That's untrue because if all of your information is registered online at all times and the leader and the people that lead this institution can presumably see this, it doesn't require significant amounts of money to control you. Just the fact that it exists. Just the fact that it's constantly updated, the fact that every tax payment you make, every shit you take is probably recorded in this network state necessarily means the amount of money you need is secondary to the fact that the data exists at all. You had to challenge it better. Cybersecurity lags have already been addressed. This is unique to network states because on modern states, you can deal with this over time and organically, right? Like most laws apply in the physical world for modern states, so we can catch up to those things. Cybersecurity might be bad right now. We can eventually get towards like a better system, but on the time, it doesn't apply for every facet of your life. Every interaction doesn't become legal on our side. So that's just probably better. But the third thing is less readily available access to welfare compared to the status quo. Because, and this is crucial, if it is true that the vast majority of people are coming from places that aren't, like, what do they say, posh, democratic, liberal states, it probably means that even if you give them cash injections via things like welfare payments or whatever, they have to be processed through and provided by the same shitty dictatorships and the same shitty states you talk about exist in the physical realm. Because healthcare can't be administered online. I'm not going to get a surgery on the metaverse with fucking Mark Zuckerberg software or whatever, right? You needed to mechanize how these things would work, but you've never proven why this infrastructure would exist physically and exist parallelly to modern states. You have to rely on those infrastructures and those instances, in which case you just haven't proved any of that. Government, do you want to chat?
So at this point, the opposition attempt to muddy the comparative has left you with nothing. If you support social media when it's controlled by companies, you support crypto when it's individualized, and you support all the individual components of a network state, then you are essentially supporting the concept of a network state. At worst, you still lack the ability to interact with the physical world via cash assistance and all the things it can give you. You only get the worst.
No, you're misunderstanding us. We're not supporting any of this. We're saying network states have the exclusive X factor that makes all the harms worse on your side. That's literally why we're against it. We don't have to prove that any of this is a good thing in and of itself on our side. We have to prove they get worse on your side, which you've done quite thoroughly. But here's what's important, right? Social media and all these things are controlled by corporations, are dictated by the rich people that own this. But Trijan pointed out, these are exactly the corporations and individuals that are going to make these alternative states in the first place. Tech bros, people like Elon Musk. I just don't know how it's going to work and what the state is going to look like. I know that can't be benevolent because government's characterization all assumes that all of this is going to be benevolent. For some reason, everything is going to work out. Laws are going to be fine. Welfare is going to establish itself. Why? Because principally modern states are bad. That's not mechanism, guys. That's wishful thinking. You need to mechanize better. I know you're going to try and government reply. Please track this edges because they're definitely going to do this. They haven't done this so far. I just want you to note that very clearly. Finally, democracy. They say, and this is really, really funny, you don't have democratic choices right now. This network state is going to provide for you. One, your ability to choose is really, really difficult. Like I pointed out earlier, right? The fact that you can't transition immediately, there are probably going to be laws and such. Two, you exist within physical states as well, which is something they just haven't addressed. But thirdly, and most importantly, if the algorithms that dictate how the network state operates are unchallenged on government, it just means the way you can manipulate this is much, much worse. If all of your information exists, your preferences, your targeted advertisements necessarily means that votes can be manipulated in a far greater capacity than that happens in the status quo. For all these reasons, please vote opposition.
All right, thank you, Opposition Whip, for that fine speech. Now, to close the opposition case, I would like to invite Opposition Reply.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, I'll just start in a few seconds. Laws are just lines written in paper without the mechanism to enforce them. And notice that opposition has given 0. They just assume that people are going to be benevolent. But this perception of benevolence is based on real world with real laws and enforcement mechanisms. For example, threat of violence through military, through police, and a lot of other things that force people to follow the laws. For example, information systems that are likely to indoctrinate them. If their escape in this world is likely to be free, for example, people are not subjected to political prosecution or harms of this violence, they don't have violent mechanisms to hold people into account. This is important in our case because notice that this violence is able to prevent further violence that people can do. The reason for this is several fold. We told you that people have competing interests where people live together, they're likely to share resources. If they say that a lot of social service is going to exist, a lot of information that you can weaponize is going to exist, then people want to get their hands on that information. They say we are going to have ironclad cyber security, but we are also going to have like evolution of tech to hack those cyber security growing at exactly the same rate. If we say that, I think the potential for mal actors to grow is exactly the same as good actors to grow. I don't think they can match that one actor grows like this development and government becomes much more stable and secure, but people remain like same dumb fox that they are currently. Second important thing to note here is in regards to the harms that occur as a result of this. We told you that every single thing that people ever do, their life is online on your what? On our side, some part of life might be online. We probably prefer that to be physical. But the context of this is any kind of harm that occurs does have ability, like any person who is likely to take advantage of that has ability to significantly damage your life. There is so much harm and very less threat of prosecution. I think you are good debaters. You can mechanize the rest of the argument itself into how it plays out in real world. Second important thing to notice, we told you that the conception of this kind of laws is not going to be best. They say our current systems are arbitrary and random, but we are going to evolve into that system from the current system. That is to mean all the biases that are cultural in nature, all the systems that we have hold true are likely to be there. For example, if I want to enter into a social network, it's going to be with these guys who are Nepali. And probably people who look like my skin color, people who are likely to be similar to me, a lot of other things, and this is better. And it is also important to note that they say we can magic away services. They can say that we could have services. We have services in real world, we have them on their world. The question is then of access to services, because services without access is no services. That is to mean they have to prove why it's cheaper in the world. And the only mechanism they have is competition. We have proven why competition doesn't exist. So why is it likely to be costly? We have told you that the maintenance and existence of this server is likely to be costly. We told you there has been significant effects. For example, you have to contradict jurisdictions of country to provide services. You probably have to spend your money around that. There are people who want money to be had by this kind of enterprise. If that is so, then your services likely have to be priced higher. I'm not sure this is not MEC at reply, but questioning your MEC about how you get accessible services. I think you know that. Next thing important to note is in regards to external factors that affect people's life. Two things here. One, maybe starting point will be something like dual citizenship. We showed you the harms of that. For example, we fear multiple prosecution from North Korean government and additionally from this technology. But even if you allow an escape, for example, if you can independently exist from this kind of technology, other factors still affect you. For example, climate change randomly just kills you. And a lot of these things still occur. That is to mean physical interactions are also better. But we didn't tell you that happiness cannot exist without physical outcomes. We just told you that the physical world and the realities that are in there create the conception of spiritual happiness on people. For example, the fact that I'm with my girlfriend probably makes me more happy. Or probably the fact that I'm able to interact with my family is better. You have to not just move me to this kind of platform. You have to move my family who doesn't know how to operate a computer in this kind of platform. Or also other people who don't want to go into this kind of platform. This reimagination will break hearts, and we don't want to break hearts. Very proud to propose. Thank you. Oppose again, sorry.
All right, thank you, opposition reply, for that fine speech. I would like to welcome government reply to close the round. Here.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Imagine we were in the 1500s, you'd still hear the same criticisms from opposition. It can't be enforced. Some people can't access it. The rich will get access to it first. Just because OP can't imagine a world or a state without violence doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it sure as hell means OP hasn't engaged with the round. 3 things in this speech. Number 1, all the stuff OP doesn't engage with, that they pretend doesn't exist so that they can make it look like the one issue they have arguments on can actually somehow win the debate. 2, talking about the weeds. And then thirdly, talking about just the real clinchers in the round. First, all the stuff OP doesn't engage with. There are 3 of them that are independently winning of the debate on its own. 1, authoritarian states, ones where you need access somehow to aid, ones where you need access to the ability to vote, the ability to govern laws, the ability to be recognized as a, for example, civil union. These are all things that we uniquely get access to that substantially improve your life, substantially improve your access to freedom of information, and substantially improve humanity as a whole. Even if it's just for these people versus some democratic people, this crushes them because people are uniquely way more vulnerable and OP has no response. They're out of the debate. The second thing is on weak states where they say, these states don't have any resources to enforce things. Not only does this mean that they can't have any of their arguments about the panopticon because a state like this would not have the resources to enforce a panopticon, I want to point out that even in weak network states, we still have many of the benefits that exist just from providing a community, like work opportunities, like the ability to have online school, voting and representation through a leader. All these things uniquely emerge. And just because the opposition whip is convinced we don't have a mechanism doesn't mean we didn't actually run one at Prime Minister. So no, just because they think some states are weak doesn't mean these states don't have benefits. Thirdly, the alternative. And here's where they whine a lot about their argument about how modern states are bad without ever really responding. They say, the gotcha is hospitals exist in the real world too. So if you want to get healthcare, you'll have to go through the real world. First of all, have you heard of insurance and payments online, which was an example we gave? Number 2, I'd like to point out there's no response to the competition stuff, which is modern states get gradually better over time. And without competition, there is what I would say getting worse. That is entrenchment of corruption. They see that opposition reply, if you're saying modern states are getting worse, then so will these, network states. And we say the rate is much, much different, right? Modern states are already at the end point of that corruption. They're getting worse at increasing and rapid rates, whereas these current network states can still be fixed. So at no point do they attempt to fix the problems they set up. They say you have family. They say you have culture. I ask you, not only opposition, but the panel and the audience at large, what kind of person would choose to leave their family? What kind of person would choose to leave their nation? It is already those that have not found satisfaction and solace in their family. It is those who opposition cannot claim, you can't be happy online because we said so. How about you let them make the choice? And that's why we give them that choice. The final thing, in the weeds and the clincher. So the first thing they say is, it's not exclusive. There's Reddit, there's Tumblr, and apparently these things will do all the things that we like. Never mind the fact that I can't possibly conceive how Reddit would let you vote for a leader, Reddit would pay for your school or offer online schooling. If they did, you know what we would call that? A network state, guys. So they can name all the components of the network state individually and say, we support them because we think they provide a nice response to the government bench. This just makes every point in their argument weaker. If they concede to Facebook, they concede to Google, they concede to Microsoft, they concede that the corruption that these things have in their states today, what we provide in government is an escape from that because it's harder for them to corrupt all these states at once because you can leave and change states, none of the response from government bench. But the final, and I think most crushing clincher is we said the X factor that opposition whip and opposition reply magically refer to but never articulate in their speeches is what wins us the debate because this X factor
is the ideals of democracy governed by a community like you, the ability to make rational choices, and if not rational, self-interested choices. All they say is people who are poor, vulnerable, can't use computers. They're too dumb to make choices. How about for once in history, for once in our very lives, we let them make the choice and give them the ability to choose. That's why government stands for this debate, and that's why you should choose government bench.
All right, thank you, Gov. Reply, for that fine speech. That concludes this debate. Thank you everyone for such a wonderful debate, and I would like to hand the floor over to the organizing committee.
Thank you, Yongwoo. And thank you
Thanks, down,
to
everyone.
oops. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Yongwoo, and thank you to both teams for that really wonderful, really intense debate. Like, good luck to the judges deciding who won. So I would now like to invite the judges to retire to the deliberation room. Judges, you can enter the breakout room now. I believe OC is currently assigning you there. So while that's happening, first off, I hope everyone else that was here really enjoyed the debate as much as I did. But while the judges are deliberating and while the suspense builds, we'll move on to the award and closing ceremony of Malaysia UADC 2022. So if you've just joined in or you're a little bit late to the party, my name is Chang, and it has been an honor to have had the privilege to be your convener and now your host and MC. It's been a journey these past 2 weekends, the 8 prelimination rounds, the 6 elimination rounds, and we're finally here at the brink of crowning the new Asian champion. But before that, I just wanted to take everyone through the journey of how this UADC came together. We won the bid on the 7th of August in 2022, and it was the start of